We are live, and we are live in Mercury retrograde. So we are experiencing that for real. So we were supposed to be also with another lovely practitioner, Jennifer, that had some technical difficulties, and she would not join us today. But we are here today with B and with Leanne, and with a chat. So anyone that would join slowly would be able today to also comment, write questions if you have for this discussion. And I'm excited to start our maybe fourth roundtable, something like that, or fifth roundtable to just kind of talk about things that we experience as IQH practitioners, and to share about the practice, to share about our life stories, introduce one another, and also answer to questions if things arise today. I thought it would be nice to kind of feel the energy and see what we want to speak about. And while I was preparing right now, and kind of a thought came of what we can speak. But first, I want to give you, B and Leanne, a moment to introduce yourself, and then we'll start asking some questions. So really, you can say whatever you want about yourself and introduce yourself. B, you want to start?
Okay. Yeah, I'm a quantum healer practitioner. I'm facilitating sessions with people online and in person. I have been enjoying going.
My first session was a QHHT session, who I just saw this friend the other day, and we had such a lovely discussion reviewing that first session that I had that really cracked the doors open for this work. And I have done about 80 sessions for clients, and sometimes they're in person and sometimes they're via Zoom, or even I've done a few over Telegram, if that's what they have, or Messenger even. It's interesting to kind of navigate the platforms. But what I found is it's lovely to do them over Zoom, and they're just as powerful. And then, so then I've had about 8 sessions done for me total. And Ron, I think we're on number 3 or 4, as you've mentored me through a beautiful mentorship. And I have absolutely enjoyed being on the receiving end as a practitioner of all this information that comes forward. And people say, well, I don't know if I want to have a session. It might be strange. I don't know what's going to happen. And I said, I've seen and heard quite a few things. You can't really surprise me anymore. So it's been beautiful. And I just, I think I have an opportunity coming up to do a group meditation session where I can bring people in a group into a quantum state, which I'm really looking forward to. And I'm excited to kind of grow this work a little more to the possibility of, group sessions and that sort of thing. So I've really, really enjoyed this quantum realms of play. People say, oh, I'm just making it up. And I say, well, maybe. It's all stories. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm really moving, and we view it as a past experience. And sometimes people have a recurring issue in this lifetime that they cannot get to the bottom of. And it's a habit or something that's maybe a difficulty that there's no explanation for in any other modality. And so they go into this this quantum state, and maybe it's a lifetime from 1600 where they had a responsibility to care for people, and they may have experienced an emotion in that lifetime that kind of was stuck or is up in the field of their memory in the subconscious. So it's bringing that subconscious memory to the forefront and asking for it to be healed and seen, that really I don't think might have been found in any other way. And I think that's so beautiful and so important. And some of the details that come out when people go into a past life are just magnificent. Yeah, that's my experience of how it's important.
Yeah. B, do you want to share something?
Yeah, also very often difficulties that we encounter within the family, for instance, that we have a brother or a sister or a parent that we have difficulties connecting to, or they don't treat us very nicely. And even though the intent is always for me, when we go with a client into a session, I ask the client very, very clearly, what is your intent? Because you will always be served by your intent. If it isn't a clear intent, it's like you get whatever you get. So if a client comes in and says, I have this and this issue, and this is what I wanted to look at, then I always, I'm on my knees, like with awe about how the higher self brings in the imagery and the knowing and everything around this. And it may be one lifetime, or it may be several, or it may be anything. There was a conflict, or there was a learning that should have happened in another lifetime and it didn't. And when it's brought up, and it's really vividly felt, and I'm talking about my own experiences as well as the experiences that I've seen with my clients, it's just, it's like this big this real understanding. Oh my God, this is why I did neglect what is now my mother in that lifetime. She was my child. I was so in love with this man. I had no time for whatever. And then it can be reconciled. Forgiveness is happening within that person. And for that reason alone, like the expansion that comes out of this is incredible. And sometimes if someone connects back with me after half a year or a year and says, oh my God, everything has shifted so much. And we would think it was just that one thing. But it's like, I don't know, like a real space has opened for this person. It feels nearly like when we have this conflict for a long time, that we make ourselves so small, we get so tight because we don't want that conflict all the time. The moment it's been resolved, we can understand what it was. It seems we can become ourselves. And in that regard, I think it's absolutely amazing to be able to see that. It's one of the most beautiful things.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I think that's really bringing forgiveness is such a important way. I think there's so many example and things that. So maybe we can continue with some more example of what are the things that can benefit from going to the different those timelines, the different things that can affect from other situation, other lifetime, other events that can linger to now, and how is it actually happening. So let's try to come up with some to share a little bit more about those events. Like I'll give you an example, like I know that we talked before, you mentioned about vows, and like, okay, so and how that, or about how the person, I'm just giving few examples, but you can take it away and add, and if you have more things to share, like for example, if somebody die in a certain way and how it can affect this life, or like, I think there's so many nuance, so many little things that we can, so maybe you can give more examples from what you found. I can speak forever and I don't want to do that, so
I know, but it's so rich what we get when we're in these sessions, even if we are facilitating. I notice that I always say I'm half in the session with the client, and it's so rich. So you get way more than the words expressed on the audio. But the vows was something that personally I experienced recently for myself. And I was greeted by the one that I vowed to, and I don't name it now because I don't want any misconceptions here. But anyway, that person that I vowed to as a young knight at the time was looking at me with eyes of deep concern and showed me the scene of when I took the vow. And I was this young, innocent, burning with justice and love and everything for this planet. So, of course, I took the vow of not taking any money from anybody who I don't know. And he said, I'm so worried about you that you carry this over into this life. An eye opener for me as a personal experience.
We froze for a moment. Are we back?
Are we back on?
I'm back on.
Yeah. Okay. So I've since learned, like I knew that every word and every thought creates reality, but since that experience, it became so clear to me. Let's say I remember several incarnations of myself in a monastery. And I suddenly remember like all these vows of poverty. I don't know how many I took. Like being a nun or a monk, you vow all day long, every day. And I was shown how this solidifies. So even the discovery of this in my own life has led for me to a process. I was told actually by my higher self, take it easy. This is going to take a while, like a while.
Yeah. Here Leanne is joining.
Hi
Okay,
again.
here we are. I have no idea what just happened, but my computer completely froze and we're back. That's the beauty of Mercury retrograde. It's gonna take it as is. Yeah, go with us. So we can just continue. I don't know if it's like, are we probably live? I don't, maybe continuing the same where we were before. Hopefully, people will see and join again. Yeah, B, you were in the middle of the story of sharing a little bit about how it's affecting how the vow that you took in other lifetime affected you in the life that you're living now, and what you learn about the process that it's going to take for you from learning about it.
Yeah, the learning that I took away from it is also like, be careful to say, I'll be your best friend till the end of my life or forever or something like that. This is something that you promise and you're bound to do that. This is binding. So it's really, really important to be aware of the thoughts and the words we are speaking. And I mean, all of the vows we take, I'm not sure if I would ever take a vow again. It's so powerful. I don't know. I couldn't even like with seeing, because Leanne also said what I said. I really love being in trance, and I've seen other expressions of myself. People always think light workers are just the bright, beautiful healers. No, light workers also go in to bring friction into a field that should be changing or is in the process of changing. So they can cause a lot of friction. It can seem very dark, and they're still light workers. So we have to be so very careful with all this. So I was going to say, I can't even vow I'm always going to work for the highest benefit of everyone. Yeah, maybe if I don't have a perception of that darkness is not serving everyone, but it's very difficult. So I learned to be very careful, but to find those vows seem to be not easy. It may actually be something that I will pick up on for sessions in the future, where I will particularly maybe ask, is there any vows, is there any promises, any old contracts that are due to be released? That could be a way of dealing with it. I guess I will do this, because what I've learned from all the sessions is the questions that we don't answer, we don't get asked, we don't get any answers to, and we don't get any healing in particular. So it's really important to learn to ask and request.
Yeah, exactly. Good, beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And it's so true that, from different perspective, what you think is the benefit for all from one perspective looks completely different when you go from another point of view, and the benefit of all is changing.
Yeah.
So when you say the benefit of all, it's always depending on from what level and what perspective you're looking at it.
Yeah.
And benefit of all of what is the all that we are talking about. So that's always very, very interesting. And Michael, thank you.
Michael.
Yeah. We're gonna put the comments maybe later on the screen. For now, we're gonna just respond to you guys as you leave comment and questions and things like that. So feel free to ask questions in the chat. We all see it. So let's continue. And Leanne, you can share more examples, more things that you discovered from learning of the past and how it's affecting us now.
So one of my last sessions that I facilitated, this beautiful young woman has been through a lot of difficulty in her life and is so powerful. And so the questions really, she said, what is my purpose? That's the big question. What's my purpose here? Why am I here? What am I meant to do? And she went to some other lifetimes where, there's a clearing happening, right? There was an emotion that happened at a young age 200 years ago. And it was such an innocent emotion that of fear of something that happened to a young girl that could happen to anyone. It was very simple, that you wouldn't think might carry on to another lifetime. But she was able to meet that 6-year-old little girl and soothe the child that was scared. Well, what was interesting is she went to some other lifetimes. And it's not all about clearing necessarily the denser emotions. She was able to see herself in a leadership role in Ireland, actually, where she was in charge of a lot of people and did a very good job at what she did. And it allowed her to really embody the positive aspects of things that she experienced in the past. And to come back and say, yes, I'm a leader here, and I have that in my soul, and I'm meant to bring that forward. It was really powerful for me to say, hey, it's not always about the denser things that we are digging around and wanting to let go of. And we say that about our ancestors too, Yes, our ancestors gifted us some epigenetic fear for things, but they also are so powerful and so strong, and we can remember to bring in the positive qualities that we wish to embody now too. So that was a big lesson for me a couple of days ago that I really enjoyed. She had one other moment. Her most recent lifetime was being an activist, and again, there was kind of like a duality of, yes, I'm very powerful, and yes, there was some difficulty, that to really be a voice for the feminine at a time where that wasn't looked well upon. And so I just really loved that she was able to embody her gifts and really put them on. And so that's so beautiful.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay. B, do you have more examples of we're just kind of okay, so one, it was like if you take vows. Second, you can get aspect of yourself that actually would empower you. That I'm kind of taking a little bit the topics that we are kind of touching about. We're talking about, okay, I gave the example before, if you die in a certain way and that energy that you died with somehow creating something in the life. I had example, for example, that because they die, I don't remember exactly the certain way that they died, it's created in this very early ages of their life, some type of illnesses that actually was because of that energy. That kind of they came with it still, and that caused very early in as a young baby already illnesses that lingered. So that was needed to be cleared as well deeper.
Yeah.
Just another example. So B.
Yeah, or if someone dies very quickly and very young, they may feel, oh, I was too young, I didn't have a chance to live. And they may carry that within them, and they may have to resolve that, like this hunger for life or just being very reckless because they want to cram everything into their lifetime because they don't really understand that their life could be way longer now, but it's just that memory. So nearly everything is possible. I may share something that I have noticed with sessions because I've been doing surrogate sessions. I don't know if that's appropriate here to mention that, but
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
what I felt I have seen as a pattern in quite a few sessions that we did as surrogates. So a surrogate session is when two practitioners get together and they have a query from a client that says, I can't go in trance. I've tried it several times, or I feel I can't go in trance. I can't even meditate, etc., etc. But I do have this and this and this. So we had several of them, and what I felt is always I had a long list of questions. And when we went in, whether I was the one facilitating or the other way around, it seemed that a lot of, and that's now a really tricky way what I'm saying, but it's all about labels. So I have to use the label of angelic realms. I felt that quite a few of those people came from the angelic realms, which means to me, in my understanding, a very, very high vibration and a huge love for humanity. Very often they come in with like a huge big agenda, a mission. And because they do clash so much with the very low vibration that they are meeting with at their entry point at birth. And it's not just one incarnation, it's one incarnation after the other, that they get so confused, so entangled, and have no idea what to do. They can be very much like feeling a victim. They can be really expressing that a lot, can be very angry. They can be totally distraught and full of despair, and they can't get out of that. So when we go in, we find that there's a lot of entanglements with like emotions that can be cleared with the help of their healing teams and our healing team, and with the help of the higher self. So there's always the question put to the higher self, is that something that can be cleared? And if it is yes, can we clear this now? And the higher self would say yes or no, or it will say restart, etc., etc. So then what I find is happening for these people more than in other cases, that they are giving a lot of very practical advice around the bodily experience because they're so traumatized by the entry point into life here with this darkness, these unpredictable emotions that are really, really strong
Yeah.
and harsh at times. Even if it's love, it just confuses them. So they are more out of the body than they're in the body. So they leave sometimes only the bare minimum in the body because the body seems to be a very difficult place to be in. And so what they get at homework is like a lot of self-care, and it's very detailed. So, and I think this can be given as an example for many people to really take care of their body. So if you shower, really touch your body and just have the appreciation that you are in this body because you have chosen to be here. This is one of the sentences we always get. You have chosen to be here, even though it feels so painful and so wrong. Everything seems to be so wrong. This is a unique experience that you have chosen. Plus, they mainly get the other statement as well. You've chosen a huge agenda. So very often it's more like you have bitten off more than you can chew kind of thing, because they just thought they come in with so much love for a planet where nearly everyone is suffering so much. So So what they get is like very precise daily procedures and no expectations, because these people expect so much of themselves because they have that calling still in them. I find that really interesting. And I think this probably applies to many, many of the light workers that recognize themselves as light workers. But these people that come to me or that I've seen in these sessions, they wouldn't call themselves that because they feel that they are failing all the time. They can't get anywhere. And I find that one of the most profound experiences that we can actually release a lot of these belief systems, the painful trauma, and then help them with daily practices to bring that in consistently. And it's starting to love this bodily experience. This is what the higher self is aiming for. Yeah, it's very touching, to be honest, when you go through the process, no matter where you are. And it sometimes feels like God himself. Now, I'm not a Christian, but there's sometimes such a golden energy coming in, like at some stage into these sessions, and it's like enveloping this being, this essence, this whole experience, and saying, look, you're my child. You can never go wrong. I love you. And these are experiences that you can have. But even if you only go for a surrogate session, it's not an only, and you hear this is going to touch you. This is going to reach deep inside your system and is clearing your field. So that's what I experience. I find it very, very rewarding and very, very beautiful.
Yeah. I want to share about surrogate sessions as well, that you can do surrogate sessions for people that are, for example, in the hospital and then they cannot really do themselves because the environment doesn't allow it, or somebody that is in coma. So then if it's that we can do on behalf of somebody else. If it's a kid, sometimes, many times it's suitable more for kids to do a surrogate session. And you can do surrogate session even for yourself. I experienced a surrogate session for me, and it's always interesting. When I did a surrogate for myself, it was a situation that they took us actually to a life that we were together, and they took the opportunity to share for both of us from that perspective and showed us a life that we were brother and sister. It was really interesting, and but there's a lot of so many incredible lessons that they weave in this poetry that comes out, those stories. And it's so beautiful how when they share those lives, that it's like a movie that you sometimes you don't really understand what's going on, but then there's a moment that it's click, and then it's click about how that affecting now and how it's resolving something that is so in the core wounds of the person that is coming to the session, that just bringing those awareness, those advices, those resolution of some kind that happen, if it's happening in that life or it's happening right now, it's just automatically it's like a shift of a timeline in a way. If you had carried that, you would meet more situation to trigger it until it's going to be healed. And then suddenly when the realization happened, when you have the resolution of what needed to be learned, it's suddenly the timeline shifting is because you don't need to have that experiences that you may have in your potential coming to you over and over again. So that's also how big things in your life can shift because of sessions, because your timeline is going to shift from what the new potential basically that you have. And that's really can be a thing that you have worked on few lifetimes even and didn't figure it out, and suddenly there's this session that gives you this aha moment that your soul graduated and learned something super valuable and important. And that's really what I feel like the ascension that we're going through is. Every moment we're ascending by getting more consciousness, more awareness, more truth, that that these little graduations of lessons that we're going through. Leanne, I'll give you some opportunity to share more stories of how you found it helpful to dig into the past.
Yeah.
Dig into the timeline.
So I traded sessions with a fellow quantum practitioner in a different modality, but we've become friends and sharing business information. His name is Rob, and so it was his turn to have a session, and he's comfortable with me sharing this. He really wanted to get to the bottom of why he's struggled with some addictions in his life, and and the explanation was so amazing to me. So, just some lifetimes where specifically he went to about a 13-year-old boy in colonial England, and he was forced into fighting, forced into military service as a little kid. And he had this pain in his forehead that he was feeling, like pressure and pain in his forehead and his physical body in the session. And it was from being hit on the head as he was being forced into this military service. And we asked in that moment is, can we clear that energy from you now? And it cleared. And then he was asking, well, why do my hands shake in this lifetime? And there were a couple of explanations that were really amazing. One of them was that particular lifetime where he had to fight, he experienced so much violence and he didn't want to do any of it. But he was forced into it. And so experiencing so much violence that was still in his energy field in this lifetime. And that he had some lower back pain also in this lifetime. And it was from the way that he died as an older teenager was from a sword going through his body. And he chose that. He wanted to leave because his life was so difficult that he allowed the person he was fighting to take his life. You can't make this up. It's just like the details are so incredible. And then another lifetime, he became a woman who was about to give birth to a child and passed away trying to birth that child. And the takeaway from the balance of those two lifetimes was to take a life, you have to lose one. And it was the balancing of karma that he was understanding. There's zero judgment in any of those things that he experienced in those lifetimes. It was just that understanding that karma that those past lives are balanced now, and he can release that energy from his body. And then another part of why his hands shake, we are asking again, why are your hands shaking? And there's this lovely understanding that if now, when his hands shake a little, he has energy and healing coming through to bring Reiki and energy to help heal people. And so it was really beautiful to witness the transmutation from letting go of violence that this was experienced into the healing energy that's coming in the awareness of that shift. So beautiful, just incredibly beautiful to witness. And I'm excited to catch up with this young man to see how it's going. And that's another thing that I want to practice more of as a practitioner is, you have a client a few weeks ago, and I want to remember to tell clients, hey, check in with me. Tell me how it's going. I'm so curious how your life will shift after this session. And that's maybe a lovely way to follow up. Because for myself, my life has shifted profoundly from these sessions.
Yeah.
And they all fit together like a big, huge, beautiful puzzle from session to session, regardless of who the practitioner is. It's like I just pick up where I left off, and I'm getting more pieces of the puzzle, and it's getting to be this gigantic, incredible picture. For me, so grateful.
Yeah. Beautiful. You speak, and I can ask. It's take me to so many things, and I can everything that you say, I can go in and explore more and expand on, and I want to. So it's just thank you for bringing all this information, and I have more. Yeah, I wanted to ask you something, but I'm gonna jump between you. So, and B, did brought up something for you to that remind you to felt called to share.
I would like to talk about something that I feel is very important, and that is listening back to the audio, whether you had an in person or an online or a surrogate session. The energy and the power of these sessions is incredible. I don't think we have any words to convey that to people. But I have noticed that one of the first sessions, the first one that I actually did with you, Ron, I was so fascinated, like, because I just couldn't believe that my voice was saying what I was hearing in the in the recording, and I was like all over the place with this, and I listened to it I don't know how many times, and now looking back, I can see how much from this session has come into my life in different ways to understand my own being from the past. I can see how there was a light shed into an area we didn't even word in that session, but now I understand why I was seeing certain colors, why I was hearing certain messages from, in one case it was an angel, it was from another lifetime, etc. So go in and do yourself a favor and listen back to your audios, and if there is anything that is recommended, please do it. It's not that someone is taking it away from you and just heals it for you. It's your part of the session to follow up and be in that energy and take responsibility. We're only facilitators. We hold the tools, we shed the light, like in a during an operation, we share the light, we hold the light in the sometimes a bit dark areas that you can experience, or the very joyful parts of a session, which is also happening a lot, like very moving moments where we hold the field for you, but listen back to it. And what I personally do with each and every session of mine, I go back in and I write down my homework. I have a homework list and I carry on from the first session on. I know exactly what I will incorporate in my daily practice. I find that so important.
Right. Yeah, it seems like that if the integration is not taking place, if it doesn't really go from the to the conscious mind in a way that the person can re-listen, fully awake, hear it again, make choices because of it, really the energy of the integration that it's really landing in the person, that his choices would be different from knowing the information. It's really different when, even though you experience it, because it's like the state is almost like lucid dreaming sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like you feel like you've been there, but in a way it's going away like a dream. It doesn't really stays, and you really do need to re-listen to that to fully make the energy shifts, that it's becoming conscious and your choices will be changed and your action will be different. And so listening more than once, it's super important. I know many people having hard time to hear their own voice. As you said, for you it was fascinating and you didn't believe, but there's many people that it's almost like irritate them to like hear themselves speaking like that. And I really want to empower you to just listen without judgment and just send yourself a lot of self-love. Why, if you judge yourself or judge your voice or judge, and just go through it and take this opportunity to really embrace that. And it is a inner work. It is, we really yeah, we're cleaning the inside, and sometimes we need to brush it, and it's sometimes to scrub it a little bit stronger to get it out.
Yeah. If I may add something, sometimes I've been pondering this for a while. Why do some people do that and others don't? They probably need more time in pain, if I may say that. It sounds a little bit weird, but I've seen the people who take that very serious and listen to it and start to do the work. they seem to change so quickly, so profoundly, whereas the others keep saying, oh yeah, I don't know if this made any difference. No, it will not make a difference if you are not taking responsibility for
Right.
it. And I
Right.
actually want to say hi to Roxana here from Dublin in Ireland.
Nice.
So
Nice.
one fan here for us.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you
Um,
for being with it.
so yeah.
Thank you so
I
much.
wanted to share what I've done with my own sessions is transcribe them.
Mhm.
And so my 8 or 9 sessions, they make this book basically of about 125 pages of transcriptions of me talking from my higher self. And when I read them all together and I see it in front of my face, I mean, I don't get the voice, right? So I can go back and listen, and there's a lot of audio information that comes just from the audio, right?
Right.
The sound of the voice and the tears that are happening, sometimes the emotion that's coming through, that's really powerful. But because I'm so visual, having a physical copy of it, and I
Mhm.
can read through it again and mark it up, and sometimes I'll go back and get so much more information, or I'll take a point and there's something that happened months later in another session for me, and they fit perfectly together, and it's been so beautiful. So every once in a while, I'll run a really like juicy session through um, Otter AI is what you guys use. It's a transcription service, and you definitely have to go through and fix it. It's very time consuming,
Yeah.
but yeah. So that the written version is helpful, and I have been one of those naughty people that have sometimes dragged my feet on the advice. And it is like if you just do these things, it's probably going to be a little easier, but
We're
it's
still
okay.
human. We're still human. Yeah. And beautiful. Leanne, I wanted to yeah, it's fascinating to see your journey with it, and you've been going through under so many times yourself, so you really do have your own book to share probably soon. I think it's going to be a good read for everyone to learn. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's a lot of really juicy information.
Mhm.
I witnessed a few things, so I know it's going to be really beautiful to share.
We
One
talked
day
about
when
it.
you yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. There was so many things that you're sharing are being um, inspiring me to ask more questions. But again, I want to give you the to talk about what you feel important for you. There was one thing that I wanted to say, I forgot now, so it will come back to me. I'll ask it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Something you want to share?
I think we're like, even though we're a book, as Leanne said, a book that we can read in, but we are really a puzzle, I find, and we're putting that puzzle together, picture together, bit by bit. And what I felt, I mean, that is the beauty when you're a practitioner, you share sessions with others, or you have something and a colleague says, oh, why don't we do a session on this? And you get more information, and then you understand that you're really part of everything, like, because you can like, for me at least, it happens when I listen back to it, I can see where what a client said was exactly applying to me. This is how I am, how I act and react. So we also get the right clients, and the clients get the right practitioners. So it's all a mirror image of loads of things that are happening in our lives. And it doesn't seem to stop, no
Yeah.
matter how much clearing you do, you have so much more you're finding. And what I find for myself is the more often you go under, the easier it gets. So I would really recommend, if someone wants a session, maybe even committing to 3 or 4 sessions. And, you can always discuss that with a practitioner and see which way can you pay for it. You can maybe in a plan or something. But And it gives you so much confidence about yourself over time.
That you're getting
Bigger.
for your process as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you understand, you grow out of being that small little human that you always look at yourself as like the failing one. You understand you have like a galactic background, for instance, or which I found so difficult for myself because I had nothing to do with any of this stuff before. And so no matter what it is for yourself, you really get an understanding of who you truly are, even if it's only a glimpse in the beginning, but it makes you a stronger, a more rounded person, someone who has confidence. And the thing that people don't understand is if you have that in your life, everyone around you feels that. You don't have to say a word. They don't ever
Right.
need to know you've done this for yourself, but they feel it. And
Right.
the confidence that you emanate is rubbing onto them, like
Yeah.
family, colleagues, people you pass by in shops. So if you ever wanted to do something extraordinary, to do something like that, I would recommend it highly.
Yeah. I like how every time you hear it as well, you hear it differently, and that you hear the same thing, but in certain moment in your life, it's just clicking to another part of you that didn't hear it before and needed that message that moment, and you can hear it over and over again and just hear different things. Like it's triggered different events because of your life situation in every moment, and
Yeah,
it's really the material is alive. It's not something that you. It's really interesting to experience and to notice. Again, highly recommending to re-listen to your recordings if you hear this and you had a session. Leanne, give us more. Give us some more of your stories.
Hmm.
How it
Uh,
helped you to dig into the quantum field.
okay, yeah. So I often go back to my own sessions, and the reason is this: is when you're in a session, there's a physicality that happens, and I've had a lot of feedback from clients when you call in the higher self or any lifetime really, you are feeling it in your physical body. And sometimes people say, they come out and they say, that was a strange experience. And it is so different, so unique. But a lot of times there's this physical sensation that happens about when you're feeling the higher self in your body. And to me, it's become my last intention or whatever at the end of our session was embodiment. I want my higher self to be talking from me all the time, in and outside, inside and outside of quantum sessions. And that's my desire, and it's happening more and more. But sometimes when the higher self is speaking from me, I get really, really, really hot. Like I feel like I'm a sun. And I've learned, and I went back and read this months later. I said I'm a golden sun being. What? I said that? Like, okay, like, okay, I feel like a sun, and so then there's so much information that surrounds that I am building this beautiful picture with, and it gives me purpose. It gives me um, even like the codes are written on my energy body, like B said. Wherever I go, I'm a shining light, and I don't have to do anything, but whatever comes to me is the thing to do. If that makes sense.
yeah,
So what I love is the embodiment. I love other clients who also give that feedback that they've physically themselves in the body, and to me that's the purpose of this life, perhaps of ascension, of um, you know being in a physical body and allowing the subconscious, the higher self, to be speaking and in charge all the time. It's so beautiful.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, definitely we are um, getting more and more the importance of how much we need to take care of our bodies. You mentioned it before, even just touching yourself, you said in the shower with more intention and loving yourself. And but it's so for us to really be able to integrate more light and to allow the higher self, to integrate it and be more embodied, like you mentioned, many people from birth and already from all the birth traumas already getting to a place where they're not entering their bodies, and really doing now the work to clear and clean, to allow more of our energy to really be integrated, to really be taking the space that we basically we put other things in our body, other toxics, other junk DNA that happen, distortion that happen through time, and we're just really having hard time to blast and clear and clean and reignite your DNA to that level of what we're becoming, to be fully embodied higher selves, um, um, transforming from within. So,
May I add a little bit to that? I experienced personally, just on my awakening journey, sort of, I'm so comfortable in the higher chakras. I love it there, but I wasn't really caring for my physical body. I just thought, well, I just want to go up there to the higher dimensions, and this is nothing, whatever, And so I wasn't really feeding my body like I could have, and I wasn't really loving my physicality, and I've come full circle, back to like, hey, to care for yourself and to be supported and loved, and physically choosing what to put in your body. It's been such a lovely journey, and I've experienced what it's like when you don't do that, and it's miserable and can be very harmful eventually, and you can't have these quantum experiences without the body. So
Right.
I'm grateful for that deep understanding. So thank you. Yeah.
From my own experience, I would say it's probably not true for everyone, but observing my own process is that when I clear a huge trauma, and the one with the vows it's a big, it's really interesting that I use the word trauma, but I will go into it for myself later and see why. But it's probably brought a lot of trauma to many of my lifetimes. But anyway, like this clearing away is a massive chunk of energy blocks in my lower three chakras. And as I perceive it, we're getting so much energy from the galactic core, from the sun now, that it really hits on all the blocks. So the chakras 3 to 1 have been something that I could feel I was starting to clear. So when you clear this doesn't mean you're constantly in bliss. It could be absolutely the opposite. It's like clearing out. Some people talked about like really physically having to clear it out, or also emotionally. And this feels a little bit at times to me like a withdrawal symptom, because you're pulled away from how you were feeling for maybe many lifetimes, like the unworthy, heavy body that drags feet across this planet because there is so much guilt and doubt and stuff like that. And suddenly this goes, and you don't really know where you're going. How do you fill this? And even though you get light back into your body, it's a change for the body as well. There's a lot of adjustments that can happen. Now, I don't want to discourage anybody, because everybody is going to go through this anyway. I'm just preparing you that you're not jumping from misery to bliss, which I don't recommend anyway. So I prefer the measured process where you can actually really experience that. And in my way of perceiving it, I always feel like when I have these insights and I've walked the path, I can actually go home and say, look, this, Father, is what I have to bring home to you, because this is my experience out in the world of being a human being. So it is not necessarily bliss immediately, but a lot of peace and calm and reassuredness comes into life when we release these blocks. And that's why I'm really trying to encourage people to do things like that if they feel like it. It's not for everyone, of course, but even in the we can say even in the surrogate sessions, people come back with feedback that they say it's nice to hear, because they say, oh my God, I felt so different, but I didn't know you were doing the session then and then. Because this is the beauty of surrogate sessions. You don't know when the sessions are done. So the mind of these people can't interfere, but they often say, oh my God, I noticed there was such a lightness suddenly. And then,
Yeah.
so there is loads happening, but it can be this way and that way. You have to be patient with yourself. We're living in polarity land here. So it's both. It's
Yeah.
dancing with the shadow and the light, isn't it?
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. I also like doing surrogate sessions sometimes when the person does know, or I know at least
Okay.
that they are asleep, because then
Okay.
there's
That's good.
access to the energy to come into the body
Okay.
in a way that maybe have less when they like the energy work that been done. Sometimes that was one of the comments I received when I did surrogate, that it would
Okay.
be sometimes good also if the person would be asleep or in a meditation during the session, so you can play with it as well and see how
Yeah.
it works. It's
Mm-hmm.
not always possible, of course, so
Yeah.
yeah, whatever possible. um,
Exactly.
yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. um, See, the next thing, again, constantly when you speak, I have so many topics that I want to talk about, and then I was like, oh, what's gonna be next? What's the next? Okay, Leanne, your turn. It's your stage here today to share your journeys, and I'm enjoying tremendously to learn and to hear everything that you bring forward.
Yeah.
Uh, is there anything that's
What's
coming up for you?
yeah, what's coming to mind is one particular woman. She lives nearby, and we've become friends. So I I was friends with her son, who's my age, and visited with him, but I hadn't met her. And so we had a session, and she and I realized how similar we are, and our mission on the earth is quite similar. And you know, we realized we're both grounding rods for the great central sun, and maybe all of us are. Is kind of the message we got. But what's interesting is that we've become really good friends, and I ended up working at the same location where she worked, and then I painted a mural, and I used the hummingbird from her door, and I put it into my mural. And then we catch up all the time, like, hey, what's happening? What's going on? What's the information? And then we've had another session, and the whole unfolding has been so poetic and so beautiful, and I'm so grateful to have such a dear friend. And so what I'm saying is this work just opens up friendships and connections, and um, your soul family starts to blossom in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
And even Ron, I was gonna say, before I ever even wanted to be a practitioner of this, I followed you and Michael, and I listened to you on YouTube, and I found you out through a mutual friend, Julie. And you know, um, the intertwining of everything has been fantastic. I had a dream about you, Ron, about you are kind of my brother, and we're waiting for the rest of your family to show up. And um, I just am so in love with the magic, and magic meaning synchronicities and all of that shows up. So I just want to express my gratitude, really, for
Thank you.
your guidance and leadership, and Michael's, and the expansion in my life has been breathtakingly beautiful. And I'm just going with it, and I'm ready to keep going and expand even more. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think what I enjoy now the most, and like you said, like we're waking as the family that we are, and like the cosmic family that is here, and how And I love this, really the sense of the community that is growing and build such a beautiful foundations of openness and transparency and heart connections. Like, because when you meet somebody like this, and when they open their life story and their heart, you just fall in love with them, no matter what their stories are. You just really have that connection. So if it's clients that comes and you just really
Yeah.
able to appreciate them and their life and their work, and you get to understand their mission, and you see that you're working together to, so it's really, you're meeting your team, you're meeting your allies, you're meeting your friends, you're meeting people that you maybe probably had agreed to. They told me once, you're gonna wake each other like popcorn. It's like, boop, like we're waking each other. So so that's the popcorn that is happening. It's just gonna, it's gonna. So I'm like, it's just so cool to see the popcorn pop. It's like, boom, another one being awakened, another one being awakened, yay! And of course, even though we're just being awakening slowly, we're still walking in the dark, and we're still making mistakes, and we're still not really sure what's going on, and we're still, it might be true, maybe not. We're still exploring and trying and testing and experimenting, and so, and I think we're still in a situation that we're not allowed even to know all the truth yet. Like, we don't have the capacity to really know. There's a reason why we chose to forget many things we chose to forget.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why we cannot actually know them. There's so much, even just knowing that we played both sides. Sometimes we played the dark side, sometimes we played the light side, and it's really not so easy to know, like, the darkness that you were played part in, and how you, some parts of you are exactly the opposite of what you want to be right now. And it's not easy to handle, it's just not so what's the beauty is that you only get what you're already emotionally, your nervous system.
Yeah.
That's really the wonderful, really, when I worked with somebody, they really talked about, like, her nervous system need to get stronger before she can get that. And then when her nervous system is being integrated, then more comes.
Yes.
So it's really, the process is incredible. It's incredible to see people that taking this work and doing from it this deep exploration of their soul, and really doing the work from it is just really, really profound. I'm witnessing, in the last 5 years of doing it, seeing people shift and blossom, and some people that stays it's like walking on in the spot, because they don't really integrate the sessions. And you can see it and you can hear it when somebody comes and is ready and wanting to heal and do the work, and when you kind of like, okay, I think I'm ready for it. It's too much. I'm gonna prefer to do another few more reincarnations before I'm gonna solve this one. But it's an all it's all choices that are good. It's just a choice. It's like you go to the right or you go to the left, and that's just a choice, and there's no judgment about it. It's just it's like pressing the recalculate your route constantly. But we're all gonna get to where we are already all the time eventually.
Yeah.
So okay, let's see if we have let's see, how long do we have? How long do we want to hold this? Now because I don't really know what's the time.
It must be more than 1.5 hours when
because
the first part that we got disconnected.
Now, okay. Let's continue with 15 minutes. Do we good with that? Okay, great. So I want to also ask you guys if you have any questions and you want to write in the chat. We do see the chat. And also I want to share that you can find the contact of B and Liane on our website. There's the Find Practitioner, and you can find B and Liane, and you can reach out to them if you want sessions with them, if you want surrogate sessions, if you want to see their websites and to get to know more about them. I just can't recommend more exploring with them and going on a session with them. So I highly recommend. So let's see. I want to kind of touch to more things to give us example of what can happen in past lives or other times, that example that is affecting us in our life right now. So just see if you have more ideas of I had I'll give maybe see if I can find it in a moment. And anyone can, if you have a topic that comes to share, you can go for it. And if not, I will in a moment give you some more example to awaken your memory.
I have one that's coming to mind that I can share briefly. So in my sessions done for me, I don't go to the past very often. And I was really wondering why. Because I want to know. It's wonderful. It's really fun. And a lot of the reasons why I don't go to the past very often, I go to the future, I go to in-between realms, I go to symbolic places. It's because for me, what I'm meant to do is look forward, continue to look forward. A lot of what's happened in the past for me is neutralized. So, but there was one lifetime that bookends my sessions. And in the first session I had, I became a creator being who birthed one of the first incarnations onto the earth in Lemuria, in Mu. And I experienced being the mother portal, birthing this being onto the land in Kauai. I didn't know at the time that this is mythology that's very clear and spoken about by the Hawaiian people, that was the birthplace of humanity. So in a session I had with my friend Rob, when he was doing a session for me, I went to experience being the being that was birthed onto the land in Lemuria. So I traded places. And these are 3 years apart. So I experienced being this rainbow plasma being on the land that's Hawaii, communing with the trees, and it was time for me to transition out of that lifetime. I put my soul into a 600-pound crystal that's now housed in a Hindu temple on Kauai that I've been to and attuned myself to. And I have a little crystal that is sitting in the center of my altar now. There's so much information around this. There's so much more. But I was given direct information. It's time for me to go to Kauai as soon as I can to bring this information into the physical body and put on more of myself. And so I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for this information. And it's all coming about at the perfect timing. And the information that really is the point of all this is the way in is the way out. And so there's some information about being that portal to reversing it to the ascension process of returning to the mother is kind of the information that I'm getting from me. And it's just such a beautiful poetic journey that I am experiencing. And it's interesting, the Hawaiian people are coming more into my field. There's a group of Hawaiian dancers that are renting office space right next to me that helped fix this office space that I'm feeling like I'm meant to go dance with. And, it's just, I'm enjoying the unfolding. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. There's questions about what the modality that we are discussing about. So we're all practitioners of IQH, Illuminated Quantum Healing. So we're talking basically, maybe who wants to share a little bit of what is that the modality? Maybe we'll finish with like, what is it that we're doing? Sessions? How does it work? Who want to share a little bit of how does it work? I'm going to give you opportunity to sharing about what is IQH for you. What are those questions?
For me, it's going into a state of deep relaxation with the practitioner. In that case, it would be me, to access the subconscious mind of this person and getting answers to the question that they bring into the session that will be the core of the session for me. So what I do as a facilitator is I make sure that the space is clean and clear and sacred before I start the session, before I invite the higher self and the person into the space, and make sure that we can deeply relax in that space and be open to receive whatever comes our way. For me, it's a very sacred process. And I also, maybe I can say that because that was my desire to finish off this session, to say, look, when you're looking for a practitioner, be picky. Go and speak to practitioners or watch whatever public material they have out there, and just go. And when you see if you can have a pre-talk with them, and if you don't feel 100% a yes, don't go for it. Nobody's going to be angry. I would never be. I actually encourage you to say, look, even if we book this session and the day you meet me, you're feeling suddenly, oh no, I can't do it. For me, that's perfect. It has to be like this. We have to be fully in the space and with our whole heart. Otherwise, we don't get results. So for me, it's very sacred space where we can bring up from subconscious mind something that benefits the person that is experiencing either questions or difficulties in their life. So we illuminating that space with the heart, with the love, and the help of our guidance teams.
Yeah.
That's my definition of it.
Beautiful. It's definitely all about transparency, honesty, and heart-heart connection, being able to fully talk about everything without judging. And then basically in the session, there's a moment that we are learning the life stories, the questions that person want to learn. One part of it is helping them and guiding them through visualizations, through a journey that they go to see and experience things that their team, their higher self want to show them. And after that, we call on those consciousness of their higher self, their soul, their team, to speak through them. And they're basically sharing the client or the person that comes to have the session become the channel for the information and experience everything directly. And then we talk about and integrate. Leanne, do you want to add anything about?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing when there's a prospective client, hey, I'd like a session, to chat with them for a moment, and really, I like to emphasize them preparing questions ahead of time, and really meditating on and asking, what questions would you ask your higher self, your subconscious, your guides, your angels, your ancestors, and what's coming up for you right now? And when they come prepared with those questions, the universe loves questions. And Bea, you touched on this as well. You get the quality answers when you ask the questions. And what is fascinating to me, so when we go into a session, we discuss the questions, and we have a nice long interview of, chatting, who are you, what, tell me about yourself, tell me about important details of your life, so that if those details come up when the client is in the session, I have a framework for understanding what they're talking about. If they've been abused in some way, if that comes up in their session, I can understand what's happening and not be surprised by it. And so there's that level of trust that I feel so honored. So many people have just said, I trust you. And I'm like, Thank you. Like, it makes me cheer up because to be honored with their level of trust is so special to me. I don't know why it makes me
Don't
cry.
make me cry too. Don't make me cry.
I'm so grateful. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
So
I feel you. I know exactly what you mean by that. It is beautiful.
they feel safe enough to share their deepest knowings, and that's when the magic happens. That's when the good things come out. Yeah. So we ask those questions in the session that we're agreed upon, and often what I love is that the questions are answered before we ask them.
Yeah.
Typically,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's because they know that they already know what they want
Yeah.
to, and they prepare it so
Yeah.
amazing. Every time I'm amazed to see the how they prepared it in a way that you can make it up. Like you said, like you can make those things out. It's just like every time it's like a new movie, a poetry or something that you just nourish your soul in so many ways, deeper than you understand in like your mind. It's just working on you energetically, and just witnessing it is transforming. And even just that part, the interview part of people sharing their life is transforming, because it seems like it's opportunity for them for the first time to really make resolution with themselves and peace. And it's, I love to say that it's, for me it's like, what if in a Christian church or something, it was like let's say how does it called when you confess, like
Okay.
it's like when you confessed for things for yourself, it's not about like the how you judge yourself. When you confessed and how you with your process and you forgive yourself and you realize those things, it's like how, and when you have a space that is not judgmental at all and allow that to just be clear, and and like you'll reach a level of honesty with yourself,
Yeah.
sometimes we kind of run away from really feeling and and confessing, really living that, what we try to avoid. And it's just incredible process, and I feel like that's what was supposed to be confession all about, just become this judgmental thing instead of being not judgmental thing. So I really feel that the power of the interview is also incredible, beautiful, and healing, and opening the heart. um,
I have
yeah.
one beautiful example, if I may share that, about questions being answered before they asked. I had a client, she came in with a lot of questions, and before we went in, she said, if you have time, can you ask, is this my last lifetime? You could really feel the heaviness, right? So we go in, and the first thing she sees, she's on a planet, and the planet has only three colors: purple, pink, and white. And she realizes there are beings and there are also humans, and she kind of starts to speak, and she says there is only three colors, so she mentions them, and then she said there are humans living there. Oh, they have very little free will. Most of it is a hive mind. And I nearly burst out laughing, because for me that was very clearly the last question, so I didn't even have to ask. The way she answered, the way she talked about it, it was like, oh my God, there's a world out there. There's three colors only. There's only a little bit of free will. Most of it they have to do according to hive mind.
Yeah.
It was very clear. None
Yeah.
of us both wanted to go there. Too
Yeah.
boring. She was totally reconciled with this afterwards. It was
Yeah.
shocking to see how little choice you can have somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I'm only sharing this because I think it may make you think twice about, oh, I wish this was my last lifetime.
Right.
There's other things that you can go to, and it's very different from here, and maybe quite boring to someone who has experienced human life here.
Yeah.
So just the
It
same.
help you appreciate life and what we have right now. Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. Definitely. And I think that's the magic of what the sessions are doing, helping you to really live in this life for the fullest, to reach your potential and love living instead of
Yes.
And it's not easy, and we're all going through waves, and we're all going through purging, and there's moments that we are in a deep suffering, and it's not easy to say that, but at least we have some level of knowing that that's part of the process, this purge, the suffering. We can hold ourselves in a little bit more compassion and a little bit more gentleness while it's happening, while we're going through the purge, and knowingly that is just part of the process. And it's really, you think you healed something, and then suddenly you see that there's a deeper layer of it that you haven't yet, and it's still, you thought you already healed it, and whoop, it goes even deeper and even more painful and even older and even and it's even older. So it's really, so I'm just want to send everybody my just love and appreciation for your process and for digging so deeply within yourself and helping other people to go so deep into themselves, and for the beautiful space that you hold that is so, I feel your heart and your love and your how you truly embodying and living the practice that you're doing. So it's really, I think it's the most important is to really see people that are, and they're doing the work, they do it also on themselves, they practice, they do it, and they really, I know that you are transforming and helping so many people, and it's just like the light is spreading, and you're definitely a bright light. And I really so grateful for you to be doing this and sharing it, and I'm really truly honored to be with you. Yeah. So, do you want to say something before we close?
I think I just want
We're
to
good.
say love to everyone, and really trust and love this life is a beautiful opportunity. Beautiful opportunity. Full of everything.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, just the last thing that's coming to mind is across almost every single session, the message comes forward to be as a child, play outside, get sunshine, put your feet on the ground, connect with your heart, connect with your earth, with the earth. And it's very simple. The simplicity is what comes forward almost every time. And it feels really lovely to return to that. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we're all still children here, so be gentle on yourself, go play, and
Yeah.
thank you so much for watching and listening, and sending everybody so much love. Thank you for being with us today, and we'll close it here.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Dee.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.